All right. Hi, my name is Jennifer Broadwater. If you guys are here for the accounting basics webinar, you're in the right place. If you're here for something else, you're not. It looks like there's just 5 of you guys. If you have any trouble hearing me, let me know. Um, and this will probably be about a 45-minute call. And the first thing I'm supposed to do is welcome you guys and let you know I'm one of the 13 account managers and trainers at Workamajig. And today is for the accounting basics webinar. After this webinar, all of you that have participated are going to get a survey. It's something new and I'm just supposed to mention it. There'll be a survey afterwards to say, how can we improve, that kind of stuff. So please do enter it, because actually we do read each and every one of those and have meetings about it and stuff like that, so that we can help improve your, how we train. Anyways, so the first thing I want to tell you is this is not going to go into, this is very high level. This is not going to go into a lot of depth, and it's really geared towards newer people that are in the accounting side of Workamajig and maybe not know how to get to some things. As we go through here, also after this call, if you have further questions, you can always go to support@workamajig.com and actually schedule a call with whoever your trainer is to go, more in depth in things that we're going to talk about today. And if you do, also, if you don't already know, that we have a help guide, which I'll probably refer to when we get to this month-end procedures. Just, if you have questions throughout the day and maybe you can't get in touch with your account manager, do know that they're from our help guide, which is just support.workamajig.com. This thing in the corner between 8 and 5 Arizona time is actually a live person behind there, not just a robot. So if you do have quick questions about some process or something, feel free to use this. Feel free to search in our help guide if you need help, or just reach out to support@workamajig.com. Now, all right, so you may have noticed that I might have to stop. I'll just let you know I am sick, so I might have to stop and cough, and I do apologize if I do have to do that during the call. Hopefully not. I have some tea with me. Anyways, all right, so to get started, we're going to say that most accounting people are usually under the accounting today. Like, usually, for the most part, you're working on the Accounting Today page. However, there is some back end stuff that you may also need to, if you have the appropriate security rates, need to know about or see before we talk about what's in Today Accounting. So I'm going to start off with just kind of going over some places and where we may see things. And if you do not have access to these things and you think you should, you may check with someone who's an admin in your office to change your security rights. So right now I'm going to focus on, if I'm in an admin manager, some things usually got set up when you first started Workamajig. And there's no reason that, at any one time you may be reviewing these items, and you actually should be, to making sure that it's set up correctly and effectively for your, situation. So in your system setup, the first place I'm going to take you to is our GL settings. So the GL settings is the chart of accounts, right? Well, they're over here. But from GL settings, you will find chart of accounts that you have either probably using ours, or you have one that has been, used from QuickBooks or somewhere else, or Advantage, and you've moved those into ours. The reason I'm just taking you to this page is to note, when you are setting this up for the first time, or maybe making adjustments, people always ask, like, how do I get those in there? You can always insert a row, and then you can actually click and drag it into the area you want to. So if you did have a new account you needed to add it in, and it was a 5,000, you can go ahead and do that on here. I'm not going to add that in there. Oops, I did add that in there. Take that out. All right. So other things to note about this, you should obviously have all of your accounts set up. They all should say, if you're asking yourself, they should say accrual. That's correct. The account type is important. So as you'll see on here, you'll have different types of accounts. The one I want to mention right now is that if you do set up credit card accounts, you do have the ability, or you need to be setting those up to track to the vendor. So if you are adding credit cards into our system, which most people do. The first thing you do before you actually enter it is make sure that you have the vendor of your whatever your credit card is. And then if you do want to, you can do these additional items of importing credit card transactions from the bank. And that's basically importing those from Plaid, which is another whole topic, but we do have Connect with Plaid to upload your credit cards. Now it's fine if you don't do this and you just manually enter credit card transactions without using our Plaid system, fine. Just still, you'll need to have a vendor in here to use. And I also will mention many of our people that use credit cards will have a summary task, kind of like this one is, that will fold up and pretend these are people's name into the different people that have credit cards as the sub account. So that's just one setup that some people do, and other people will just have the credit cards as credit card. The main thing is to note on this is that your credit card should be set up as account type credit card. Sometimes people put like a current liability or something that won't work. You need to have it set up as credit card. I can hide the sidebar. So really, this is just a place maybe you don't need to go to at all. I just want to, start off with something simple in the back end of where you get to and where these are assessed to and how that works. Now, right now we were at the GL accounts or your chart of accounts, which is here. I do want to explain some of these options that people often go to the GL tracking options and they have like maybe a little bit of idea what these mean, but not all of them. So a couple of the things, this is kind of, if we were setting you up today, we would definitely talk about this when we went into Today Accounting on that call. But I just want to remind you, one, this is a soft, basically your soft close date. So usually this is going to be, I don't want to have any transactions, this before the closing date each month. So this usually gets changed every month, right? And then most people have the fiscal year as January, but occasionally I find some people that do it in July. Actually, my husband's work does it in July as the first month of their fiscal year. So just make sure that's important for when you are pulling reports. And sometimes it'll be like to this fiscal year. And if you weren't January, you need to make sure this was the correct one or you'll be pulling some really weird reports, right? Okay. So on this page, really, those are the first two items. And then the second thing I want to talk about is your default GL accounts. Okay, so what are these for? These are for the general of where I put my sales or my vendor invoices or my cost of goods sold, my expenses. If there isn't already one attached to at the item level, this is where it's going to dump it. So you should have all of these also filled in. Mine are filled in with ours. Yours might be a little bit different, but you do need to make sure that these are all filled in because in worst case scenario, somebody didn't, they added a new, say, purchase item in the system and they didn't actually put an account on it, then they need to know where it should go in general. And then at the end of the month, you could review, was this supposed to go here? Or was it supposed to be generated somewhere else? So again, this is just an area that you just want to be cognizant of on here. But again, if we're doing a vendor invoice, we can always change it at the invoice level. So this is, again, at the main level, we can go ahead and say, this is where it should be, but then let's change it when we actually do the item that we're putting in. All right. So again, we point everything to detail. And so what I was, want to look at then is just to maybe further explain how this works. If we go to your billing options, and how everything's always like a big circle in Workamajig, right? Everything connects to something else. So what I'm talking about basically is either your purchase items or your services. So when I come into my services, every one of my services we bill for, correct, right? They need to be generated to a sales account, but occasionally somebody will come in here and insert one and they don't really, shouldn't be probably inserting something of a service and they don't put a sales account in here. So then that default would come into play as like, okay, and then later on, hopefully someone would notice. So basically, if you do want to do a review of your services, make sure that there's a sales account on each and every one of them. They don't have to be the sales account, same sales account. Some of them, depending on what you're doing, obviously print production, usually that's not a service, but that's okay, would be configured here. While we're on this area, normally this isn't probably an accounting function, but if you open up any of these, you should have an hourly rate that's associated with your services, and you should have an hourly cost, like how we didn't do that. But the reason you would put an hourly cost on here is because you can generate budget reports that will take from, prior to a person doing, an actual time entry with their actual cost in there. And a weighted average would go in here on each and every one of these. So I can kind of get the project budget analysis report, which is a beautiful report we have. To work properly, you need to have hourly costs in here. So each and every one of them, probably mine don't have any, should be that weighted average of all the people that do media director or something like that. But it'll give you more options if you do fill this in. Not all of my clients do, and evidently we don't either. Okay, so that takes care of that, because basically your revenue can post to different accounts, and that's what we're looking at on here. All right, so also the purchase items. So if we go into the same thing, so, you're starting out with Workamajig and we have this area for purchase items. So I was just in the services. Purchase items can have both a sales and expense account. So you'll see most of mine have an expense account. Actually, all of mine do have an expense account, but occasionally you may have an overhead item that does not ever get billed out to sales. Then you would not need to have both a sales account and expense account. The purchase item definitely needs to have an expense account because somebody's got to pay for that, right? So again, you would have a list, probably not the same as ours, maybe kind of like ours. I mentioned why I'm over here. A lot of people will put a purchase item in for discount because we don't, and I'm going to show that later or talk about a little bit further. We don't have a real way to put a discount in. So a lot of people will enter discount as a purchase item and just make it a negative amount when they're adding it to a project to give a discount. Not that you should be giving discounts, but that's the only real way to get around it. Excuse me 1 second while I sip some tea. All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. So now we're going to go back over to accounting. So your favorite place in the world, or at least some people's world. So a couple of things that we want to make sure that you're aware of. From the plus sign up here, this is where we can also get to some of those system setup items in here. Most of these down at the bottom are the ones you aren't probably worried about, but all of these up here to make journal entries, invoices, receipts, vendor invoice payments, credit card, all these are important that you're able to get to those from the plus sign, because these can also be found in other areas. So I just want to let you guys know, I mean, obviously I can, well, not the receipts so much, but vendor invoices can be from the purchasing today, invoices, billing today, but credit card charges, purchasing today. So, but a lot of times accounting people don't want to have to flip to different pages, right? You want to get there faster, smarter. So just note that this is where we're going to be able to enter those items in here. Which brings me to, let's talk about, how do you enter a receipt? Hopefully you've been exposed to this a little bit, but when I get to enter a receipt on here, I can come down and pick a receipt, right? I pick a client first, decide the amount. Now, any open invoices will show up down below. So I can decide it's going to be this. Oh, well, first I'd put in the amount 32.50, except without that doesn't work. 32.50, right? If you have a bank fee, you can. This means, shoot, I'm going to go right to unapplied if I don't pick something down here that it needs to go against. That's what that's telling you right here. So notice that goes away as soon as I click. Oh yeah, that was for this invoice. Reference number is typically your check number, if they sent you a check. Now, or it could be the ACH number. So we do allow ACH. If you set that up in the back end, I'll show you where that is. So like for mine, I have ACH, credit card, or check. These are the 3 ways people can pay me. So obviously if I put ACH, I'd probably put that reference number on here. Typically your deposit ID automatically defaults to today. Now, if you're in some strange situation that you have to make 2 deposits to your bank a day, then you would probably, excuse me, differentiate this with a A or something after it. So if you knew you were coming back, because it's always going to flip to today. But if you went to the bank twice in one day, because then you needed 2 different deposits, that's how you would differentiate that. Otherwise, it's just going to be, all in one. Everything that you entered today is all going to be in the same deposit ID. And then you can pick the account over here and the posting date and stuff like that on here. And this is where that default was. Where's my unapplied going to? Well, there's an any unapplied on this, thank goodness, but it would tell you if I'd generated this, that amount would be going to unapplied. So you could add more receipts and you can do this multiple times per day. And then at the end of the day, that deposit ID would connect you to be able to be reporting to see how much money you made that day, right? How much money went in the bank. All right, so that's one thing, and I'm actually not going to enter that right now. Okay, so let me see, what do I need to go over from the select more invoices pay, a quickie. I'm sorry, it's in this one. Right here from the more key, sometimes I wonder why it's not in there, but anyways, select more invoices to pay. This is a quick way where I can come in, and usually most people make their payments, you know, like they select their vendor invoices and they pay them through the end of the month. It automatically defaults to today's date, if you notice. So if you didn't quickly go, oh, and no, can I change this? No. I mean, you can change it here, but you can't make it default to a different date because it doesn't know what date you want every time. It's going to change every month, right? So, but I can simply say, hey, I need to see all of the things I need to pay through the end of December so I can get those checks out, right? And I can hit search. And then this other one came up because I need to pay this $100 by the end of the month. I can simply pay them all at once if I want to and click pay on here and decide what, you know, am I paying by credit if you have a credit card set up, or which account it's coming out, and then generate payments. So that can all be done from this page right here. Excuse me. If I do go ahead and decide to generate payments, oh, where'd they go? I would actually have to go over to the, once they disappear from the screen, as you see, I just did that. But you would actually, to actually do the payments, you do have to go to your purchasing today page. And I guess these were waiting for approval. Nope, sorry, I lost them suddenly. Checks to print. Oh, okay. So these are the three that would be in there. So just note when you come over, when you print your checks, you do have to go to the vendor today purchasing page, and they'll come over to the checks to print after you've gathered them up from the accounting today page. So in essence, I could do this all from the purchasing today page, or I can do one step over here, one step over here. Maybe there's a differentiation between the two people that are printing, the printers, and, you know, the other people, they would be sitting here at the end of the day to print. Just so you guys know, a couple of interesting things. If you were using ACH and that person was set up as ACH, I could do this. The check format that comes up, you may have three different ways. The one that defaults to is the one that is set up in alphabetical order. So some people have struggled with this because this will always be the default as whatever that, because that's C comes before S. All right. There's a way to change this. I'm going to show you that in a second, so that in case you do have a different, you know, you wanted to use this one, you wouldn't have to come here to change it every single time to the format you want. Like less clicks is better, right? In my mind. If you go to print checks now, okay, if I print checks and it comes out and I'm like, ooh, I messed this up, this paper was bad or something like that, unless you hit confirm printing, it didn't happen. So if I cancel this out, right, I can see in here that they come back and I could do it again and again and again. So just know if you try to hit print checks and they mess up, you can. Some people are also just paying their stuff by ACH. They're doing it out of our system some other way. I could just mark them as ACH. It's really sound bad. And post the payment here, which I'm not going to do either. What was I going to do? All right, I'll take those out of there for now. All right, so that's, again, that was purchasing today, which is where you would come to print your checks, which you guys probably already know. So I didn't mention a second ago, in your system setup, if it's not set up for the right stub that you need, I guess you'd say the type of stub, that's in your billing options. And why am I not seeing payment methods? No, I lied. Why am I not seeing it? I should be seeing. I'm just probably. All right, guys. It's I thought it was in here. Well, no, I'm sorry. I can, oh, check formats. There it is. All right. So see, even I get lost sometimes. Geo settings, check formats. So remember I said they were like this, and it always is going to produce the first one. A little trick is, so I wanted to have the A stub to come up instead. Just put a letter A in front of, I know that sounds stupid, but if I put an A right here in front of it, then when it alphabetizes it and it pulls it in, it's going to pull in this one versus the one, because A is before C, right? So I'm just going to let that go for right now, but that's in your check formats, GL setting, check formats. All right. All right. Moving right along. Sorry. All right. We're going back to the Accounting Today page. Again, your favorite page, hopefully. So everything that is on the left side are things that you need to do, or somebody in your office. Now, most of the time, only certain people in the office should be able to say, be able to do things such as approve the unposted transactions and be able to go into here and do that. So these are all items needing attention. If you take care of all of these things throughout the month, then there's really nothing much to do at the month end because everything has been taken care of. And so we do have month end procedures. I actually have that up, and this is exactly what you should be doing throughout the month also to make sure that you have balanced in your balance correctly. So like as the first thing is, hey, I'm going to review these unposted transactions and look at, we can go through here and look at these unapproved transactions, and then you want to post your transaction. So this is really just going over, hey, what's in my unapproved transactions? Why am I waiting for these to be approved? And I can separate them and just look at, client invoices or vendor invoices, and it will just differentiate those. And they're all clickable. So don't worry if you want to see what that was. Am I ready to approve it? What needs to be done on here? The approver can be changed. So if it was supposed to go to someone else, if you have the security right, you would be able to come over here and pick somebody else in the office, Ron Burgundy, to do that instead. And then they would have to approve it. So your unapproved transactions will sit here until you approve them. Again, try to keep that as a minimum. Unposted transactions, of course, not everybody has the right to do posting. I mean, why that would be silly. So when you're going through here, the first thing to know is hidden in the print is what most people want to get to, either a pre-posting by account or pre-posting by transaction. So you could obviously, review these just as they are right now and click into each one. But a lot of people want to get it more in a report way. And I mentioned this today because, would I know to click on print to get to reports? Probably not. But here's your pre-posting report by account. So you should be opening these up and looking, hey, what's going into checking? Here's what invoices, and making sure that these are all correct before you decide to, post them, right? And the same thing going with some of my clients like to go to the pre-posting by transaction. It's just going to look a little bit different because it's going through each transaction and the project number and the debit, and you can make sure that, your debit and credits, match hopefully. And then you can go through there, and then before you post them, and you do have the option to post all at once then. So I can come through here and go, oh, post. I'm not going to do that because I will mess up this account for another demo. But this is where you would do the posting also. All right. So again, these are things on the left side that can be done daily, weekly, but you want to, note all of these items on there. So what was I going to say? The pre-posting report. Just so you know, here's the super important thing. If you don't already know this, there is no mass on post. So be careful. If you come through here on these unposted transactions and post them all at once and then find out, oops, I wasn't supposed to do that. You can unpost them, but it has to be individual one by one. You'd have to go through each transaction and unpost them. So sometimes people get crazy with the posting and then realize they weren't supposed to be doing that. If there is an issue when you go to post, there will a red banner. Every one of you have probably seen a red banner at one time come up in Workamajig. It will tell you exactly what's wrong with it. If you try to post something, I don't have anything that would throw a red banner at you, so I'm not going to do that, but it would be up in this corner. And when you went to hit the unposted transaction, hit post, something would come up and say, hey, there's something wrong. And you would fix that first. If you do post work in progress, this is where you would do it. Most people do not. Do not worry if you don't post work in progress. I have very few clients that actually do. And if you are interested in doing WIP, you can get a call from your account manager. Would be happy to go over that. Well, somebody would be happy to go over that with you. So don't worry if you don't post, but you see it over here and you're kind of wondering, like, do I need to be doing that? Most clients don't. Usually if it's a client that you have a lot of, you only bill you have very long projects and you have a lot of time that has been entered, and you're not going to bill it until the end of the year or something like that, and that's all building up, that's when you would want to maybe look into doing work in progress. Account reconciliations. Okay, so those obviously, if you have one open, you can actually, see it over here and open. And when you are ready, you would see your transactions, and you can go through here and hopefully that your book balance and your ledger balance is the same. And when you're able to finalize it through clicking this key here, and if you did need to go back and reopen it, you can undo that from this button here. All right, so those are just some handy, pieces of information you do want to be looking for. Also on the left side, and I'm going to go over this in a few minutes. These two numbers, this should have today's date. If it all is going well in Workamajig, this and this. Now I have some clients that it actually will say, I think mine does, it says never in balance, never been balanced, not good. But you don't want this to be out of balance too long. And I'm going to show you some tricks to how to figure out, what went wrong in a few minutes on there. But just note, hopefully this says this. If it says check date, that's not a good sign, but it can be fixed. It may take you a long time to do it, but it can be fixed over here. All right, so a couple other things. Your financial account balances, they can come in. You do have choices on here. I think it's on here in the system settings. Is it this one? And maybe it's not this one. Let me see. Oh, yeah. So if you have access to the more key in the system setting, this is where you decide what accounts do I want to see at a glance, right? And it can be done by security group. So I may have other people that are able to get to my accounting today page, but I honestly don't really want them to see what's in my Chase checking account, because we got millions in there and they might be like, why am I not making enough money or something like that? Okay, that was going way off. But anyways, this is where you can decide, and you could decide, yeah, if I have other people that are account managers, they can see this page maybe, but I don't want them to see all of these things, and you can uncheck them just for a particular group not to be able to see these account balances, right? So mine are all the same, but you can decide. It's just a handy way to see what's in your accounts. And if I open this up, you'll get a general ledger drill down, which has nothing in it, interestingly enough. Okay, don't worry about that. Down here are your normal what views are. So if you are new to Workamajig, views, sorry, I'm going to grab some tea. Okay, views are just mini reports of data that I need to check, or I need to see. Maybe I need to see all my payments. Maybe I need to check for a vendor invoice. I need to see some receipts from today, who created a receipt, and I may have additional ways that I can pull in, what a cash account and posted and stuff like that, and see information. So I don't really need to go over these with you. If you haven't, or you're not already using revenue forecast, please reach out to your account manager. I did a great webinar on this not too long ago. Revenue forecast can help you determine what your revenue is going to be, and I don't see very many of my clients actually using these. In addition, there's this one called labor budgets. I also see people not using this one as much, and this isn't the day that I'm going to go into this for you guys that are accountants, but just note, you can create labor budgets literally with a click of a button, with all of your employees on there, and what their targets are, and then pull reports on that to see if they're making their, percentage. Most people, when you do labor budgets, have like, oh, I want my people to be 67.98% billable out of my 2,080 hours, and where that lies, and then be able to get reports on that. So if you're not utilizing labor budgets, financial budgets, revenue forecasts right now, these are things to look into as additional features that we have that I seldom see used, but are super helpful for revenue. In any case, we're going to look at a couple of these financial reports right now. what you want to be doing every day, or not every day, at least once a week or something like that, is checking out your balance sheet for a balance as of range. When you run this report, and those that do cash, you do have the ability to run it as cash if you are on cash basis. It's going to also dive down in each of these. You may be looking at as, hey, why are my investments so bad? No, you might be looking at any of these items and be able to go in a general ledger drill down to see the items in here. So again, your balance sheet is a good reference area, and it's as simple as, when do I want to run this report as of? And we're going to go back to this because this is the report you're going to want to run if you are out of balance up here. And one of the things that we're going to look at in a few minutes is how do I troubleshoot that? All right. So a couple of other important reports, which you can also get to from the report center if you feel necessary, meaning I can always go to my Everyone Report Center and get to most of these. But again, as an accounting person and you're on the accounting today, we put these reports down here for a reason. It's for easy access and less clicks, right? So then one of the most important reports that we have, where was I? No. Oh, besides the balance sheet is your corporate profit and loss report. Again, this is privy to only people that have the access to this. We wouldn't want everyone in the office seeing your corporate profit and loss. But again, we can do the different filters for the reports on here by department, one report for all departments and ranges and stuff like that. And you could even do it to that budget comparison if you have a budget comparison in there. Like I had, oh, maybe I don't have a budget comparison. Oh, year 2018. Oh, that goes back far. Maybe I have one towards, well, in any case, usually I have a budget in here that I can compare it to and then run the report. Okay, I'm not going to do that one. I'll just do single date range. Interesting. I didn't check that before here. But anyways, so your corporate profit loss also, again, has drill downs for every one of these items where I can say, who's buying all these office supplies this year? And what are they? And who's doing that? What are we shipping, right? Okay, so it just gives you the drill downs on the corporate profit and loss to see how profitable you are. So that's an important one over here. In addition, a lot of people, usually more of a project manager, like to see the client profit loss, but accounting people could also. Difference between multi-view and detail view. Detail view is really giving the details on one particular client. So if I want to come in here and look at all, and I don't know how many clients we have in here, and then I can decide, there's a couple of different options if you want to have hours or none or total bill. When we look at the allocation of overhead, this is, something you guys would decide how you break that out and what details you want. And then again, you're running your report for one client. If I want to run it for all of my clients and kind of see how I'm doing with my not so good net profit, then you're looking at the other one. You're looking at the multi-view for your client. Sorry, we have the same thing for project, but I'm over here. So your multi one is really bringing you, you can do different date ranges, all date ranges. I probably want to do all because I don't know that nothing's been done in here. And you could have different report layouts. But this is going to give me every one of my clients, what my revenue, my cost of goods sold. This report is super handy. Why is it super handy? I can drill down in them and see what those miscellaneous costs were, whatever they were in here, and what went on these different supplies, and what the amounts were. It will not further let you dig down any further than that. If you need to go to the actual item, you're going to need to go into a different way. So, I mean, I can't go into my labor and then start making changes on this here, that's not going to happen, but it does let you drill down to see what was it. So again, all versus just one. Again, that's multi-view versus the detail view on that report and that report. There is an accrued order detail. I will let you know that on this report, and I'm not even going to pull it up actually. You do not need to ever pull this report unless you create IOs and BOs in the system and then bill them. So if you're doing the pre-billing, billing your orders, then you would want to see the accrued order detail report. Otherwise, you don't need to ever look at this report. So some of my clients use it, some of them don't. All right, so I think I explained earlier that, and I'll just make sure you guys know, the close date, GL close date, is a soft close. Why do we have this in here? Is because I don't want Mary Sue from another department, project manager going in and trying to do something last month that should have, after I put this close in, it's going to not let irregular employees mess around and do postings and weird things in a prior month. I mean, obviously you've closed it, you've balanced your books, and you don't want that happening. So it is called a soft close. And the reason that is because yes, occasionally errors do happen. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So I can still come in here and I can blank this out if I need to, go and fix the transaction that somebody posted. And I saw the other day, somebody posted it in 2030, which didn't make any sense. And they needed to wipe that out and put it into 2022. So yes, things happen. And that's really what this is, trying to prevent from everybody just going and doing whatever they want, whenever they want in our system. All right, back to this. So on the month-end procedures, as long as we're going through here, and again, you guys all should, find this under how did I get to this? I just typed in month-end procedures in this whole, and it's in a PDF also. If you want to include it, I could open this up or just refer to it now and again, because this is kind of the stuff I'm going through. We talked a little bit like not everybody needs to have WIP, but if you do, you can do that. That you should look at your balance sheet, your corporate profit and loss, your AP aging, and your AR aging reports. Now, I wanted to go back to, hey, what happens if you make a mistake, So, and how do I fix that? So right now, let's look at this. Oops. Right now, my accounts receivable is in balance. If somebody by chance came in and created a receipt for Arrow, and oops, you know what? If for some, hold on one second. My demo goes bad if I can't remember what the, if I can't remember what item I did. So there's on a unposted transactions invoice for Arrow for 4,775. So this is how things get out of balance. Somebody did not do their job and post their transactions. So we have 4,775. But somehow somebody comes in and makes a receipt for Arrow for 4,775. Arrow. 4,775. And I go, oh yeah, I mean, it's going to be in here and they need to pay it, right? It just hasn't been posted yet, right? So I see this and I put my little number 1 in here, or 12 or whatever. And I say, I have a check. And you can write a description if you want to, but then I hit save. Here comes my receipt. And I post. Oh, and that's great. And you're happy and you went in and there's nothing unapplied and you think life is good, right? Oh, look, here's what I told you would happen. Oh, shoot, I'm out of balance. Why am I out of balance? So it tells you check date. Oh, I went out of balance today. This could be a previous date. This is just an example so you know what to do, because a lot of people actually don't know what to do on this. So the first thing to do is go, let's figure out what is wrong with this. So the first thing you want to do is make sure the date that you go out of the balance, the out of balance date, you're going to pull the report for that posting date of the date that you went out of balance, right? You need to come to this, and it would be, you may need to change this today. I would be, tomorrow, whatever date it is. You need to have this as posting date. You need to pull your, if you have several AR accounts, I have a couple. I'm going to pull it for the one that's, out of balance. For posted transaction only. And for today, I'm going to do for client invoices, right? So when I pull this generation of the report, and I'll do it for on screen, you'll notice this is the open amount. This is the important thing. So I see, oh, look, I have 8,800 or 15, blah, blah, blah. I have this amount is what I have. And I can see my transactions on here that have been done on my AR aging. So what do I compare that to? I come over to my balance sheet down here. Where's my balance sheet? And I compare it, and I change the balance sheet to the date that it went out of balance again. And I run this report. And then I look at my accounts receivable. Where's my accounts receivable? Why am I accounts payable, accounts receivable. And my accounts receivable, oh, look, it's not the right amount. It should match. So that's $4,077. And if all goes well, I'm looking at this amount, I'm going through here and I'm like, oh, that means I am 5, 4. Sorry, I have to do some math in my head. You know, it happens to, I am $4,775 off. Wow. So I'm subtracting this number from the other number to figure this out. Now, this can be applied to your accounts payable too. You're going to go through the same exact process to kind of figure this out. And then you're going to go back and try to, go through and figure out, was something posted in the wrong day? Was this? So I know in this case that I go over to my unposted transactions. Oh, look, there's an unposted transaction from Arrow for $4,775 that was done way back on January 1st. So if I post this transaction, oh, one transaction failed. That's not supposed to happen. Well, and then in most cases, if I would post this transaction, evidently something else is wrong with this. I'm not really positive. Maybe it has too many things going through here. Normally, you would then post the transaction or fix the transaction, not have red thing banners playing up, and then this would go back into balance again. Okay. So this is out of balance because of the transaction and the receipt. So if I go back, I'm just going to go back to my receipt real quick for you guys. And look at the receipt for to date received. Today is the 14th, right? Yep, this is the receipt. I'm going to unpost this. And I'm going to actually delete this receipt out so we can be back in balance now. Now we're back in balance. Okay. So that's just a way to troubleshoot. So you're always going to go into, whatever the date is, you're going to open it up, generate, make sure that you, as of date for whatever the, vendor is, I'm sorry, the AP account is that you need to go to, find date of last balance. This is in balance. So, a posted transaction only, and then pull the balance sheet for the same date, compare the two, find the error. Hopefully that works out for all of you. Sometimes it's a, hunt down to that last penny. It is not exactly the funnest thing in the world. In any case, if you do all of these things every month, closing date, and at the end, after you do the balance every month, there's nothing to do at the end of the year. Basically, you're in balance, everything's good, you just keep going. So main point of the great thing about Workamajig as you're going through here, the year-end process, there is nothing extra you need to do as the fiscal year changes. It automatically calculates the difference between your sales account. It does the retained earnings account for you, and life is golden right then, right? So again, doing your accounting weekly or monthly and making sure all of this is in balance is perfect. Now there is sometimes people do need to find things in the general ledger drill down. So just note that you do have the general ledger drill down over here. And I can go into, whatever account I need to see, and whatever month. I don't think there's anything in there, but, you can get this general ledger drill down of anything that nothing actually happened. But, that's a good place to start if you're looking for how to, find things. Because you can drill all the way down into the posting accounts. Maybe I should have not done month to date, and I should have just done all, so I could actually show you something. Why is this not? I can't drill down into these, but it actually will tell me the balances in each one of the items that happened and when they happen. All right. Another couple of things you may not note or ever even look at. There is a GL transaction icon under accounting today, under accounting. So again, this is another way to get to GL transactions. Excuse me. And again, this fiscal, and I can search. Oh, this is the one I was going to tell you. These are the ones, if you go through this way, I can go in and actually see the transactions and maybe on post to make a correction if needed to. Okay. So just note the general ledger drill down from accounting, from the accounting icon to the GL transactions. This is a drill down. And a lot of people don't ever go into these accounting graphs, but we are always trying to improve them. In fact, why is there not even anything on that one? I don't know. But you can get, your client information, and you can even build your own. If you ever are interested in more of a deep dive into this, there are a couple webinars on graphs. Basically, you can make new graphs. You can add different graphs in here to do with accounting. Purchasing, where's my accounting? Deposits, receipt data, financial, journal level. So just note the only way to, because the first time people are like, can I do something with these? Oh, I don't know why this one's blank. Yes, you can make more, but you have to go to the edit first and then hit the plus sign to make new ones, or you could edit the ones that are already in here. So this call isn't really for that, but a lot of people do make use of these kind of, to check where are we at with certain things. And I'm not going to actually go on that. Edit with accounting sign by name. Oh, one more. This is probably the last part of the call. Just a note, if you go to the plus sign by your name, a lot of people will use the shortcuts to go into, and you can do favorites now. So to me, I don't know why accounting is always at the bottom, but if you see these little stars now, this is a more of a quick hop. So if I star this journal entry, oops. Now, guess what? In my favorites, I have journal entry. So I don't need to scroll down anymore to get to my section if I want to hop in to get to journal entries. All right. And then create journal entries from here. Not that you need to do that, but this is just a new feature that we have to do plus signs on here. All right, so that is pretty much all I have for the call today. Just kind of a go through of the different options you have for accounting. I am here if you have any questions you want to write in. I'd be happy to stay on for a couple of minutes if you have anything you want to ask. Otherwise, this call, which is always a question I get, will be available probably in 3 to 5 days through this. If you guys already know how to get to this, if you just type in, accounting webinar, I think other people have done this a million times. And then, we already have ones on here if you want to hear someone else's voice on here, and you can watch our webinar again. So those will be coming up shortly on here. And also next spring, we'll be having an accounting, I think it's in April, a boot camp. So if you are newer to Workamajig, we do have 2-day boot camps in the beautiful weather of Arizona and Tempe that you will all be invited to, which we do limit to about 40 participants. So I just do want to also mention that I've been to a couple and they are fun. I have to say accountants are a lot more fun than project managers after being to a couple of boot camps with them. All right, I do have a question from Jay Schreier. The labor budget tab, is it pulling utilization from the time entry and allocations within the projections? Just curious where the data is coming from. It's pulling from the actuals that people are putting in. So as people put in time, that's a very good question. So most of you guys should have a project for non-billable time once a year for your time off, and overhead type projects, stuff like that. So it's going to pull that information in, and I was just thinking, and then you're going to be able to go to the reporting aspect is of this. After you do the labor budgets, you're going to have, I think it's in financial, no, sorry, I have to remember where these are. Time productivity analysis, I think is one. Let me see. Oh my gosh, so many rules over here. Okay, no grouping. This is the one that will tell us. Okay, fine. Normally, I don't know what the deal is with this one. Maybe I need to look at clients all. I should be able to generate this. You can have same group leveling. Oh, office and office. See, it actually tells me when I'm dumb. Which is great. No data found. What is this, year to date or something? Date range, all production. Okay. Sorry, only find one that has final build. Maybe I'll select all. Just trying to find some demo info on here, and this is not my account that I'm using. Okay, so what does it pull into? Percentages later, what was my percent of billable versus non-billable, what's my margin, but this is not actually, the other report is better. You'll be able to get more data information over the, billing of your hours or dollars in here against the labor budget. So this report specifically is for labor budget. And again, I don't know if anybody actually had any information in here that I could actually pull. Let's just see. Percentage. So this is where I'm going to get my individual employees. What were they planned for based on the labor budget, what their actuals were, the billable versus non-billable and total. So this report directly is reflective of the data that you put in for the labor budget for each of your employees. And every employee could have a different plan. So you see some here, they have 1560, some with this, so you could have a different plan for each one, but this is a good way to, keep an eye on who's working and who's not. All right. Any other questions for today? All right. Well, thank you guys very much for coming. Again, do the survey for me. Give me a thumbs up or something like that. And let me know if you have further questions. Reach out to your account manager. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.